Peace Builders and the Pandemic, exploring the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on peace builders' personal and professional experiences, a paper by Lorraine Hayman. What makes this study unique is the qualitative nature of the research and the theoretical foundation in the study that understands the COVID-19 pandemic as a period of pervasive ambiguity, Bulwer-Keach, 1973. To my knowledge, there is no research considering the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on peace builders, personally and professionally, as the central focus of the study. Therefore, this research will bridge that gap, providing empirical, qualitative data emphasizing peace builders' experiences and perspectives through the lens of pervasive ambiguity. This research explores how participants who self-identify as peace builders have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic personally and professionally. 27 peace builders worldwide reflect on their experience of the pandemic in an online survey and text-based reflective interview, sharing insight into how the pandemic has affected their work in the peace sector. Although it is too early to understand the long-term impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on peace building, Youthmeyer et al. 2020 argued that unforeseen global crisis like COVID-19 can endanger such projects, requiring rapid adaptation. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres told the UN Security Council in July 2020 that the COVID-19 pandemic was profoundly affecting peace and security worldwide, with the health pandemic fast becoming a protection crisis. Worldwide, lockdowns because of the COVID-19 pandemic have resulted in excessive use of force by some state security actors. On the humanitarian front, 2020 saw 1.5 billion children out of school and 135 million people facing starvation by year end. However, there have been some advancements in peace building during the COVID-19 pandemic too. For example, a COVID-19 related ceasefire was agreed in Yemen to prevent the spread of the virus. Furthermore, Civil Society Platform for Peace Building and State Building in 2020 revealed that civil society organisations have effectively mobilised to support community health and well-being during the COVID pandemic. For example, in Ghana, community volunteers go around with their megaphone to encourage people to observe the lockdown and stay indoors, observing social distancing measures and remaining disciplined to hygiene protocols. Similar to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on peace building, it is too early to appreciate the impact on peace builders. Though, utilising the current scholarship on grief during the COVID-19 pandemic, it is reasonable to assume that some peace builders are also experiencing a series of losses affecting their daily life. Current scholarship concerning how the COVID-19 pandemic affects peace builders is closely tied to the pandemic's broader impact on peace, security, and conflict. In developing this research, I drew on Bulwer-Keach's 1973 exploration of ambiguity to provide the research with direction. Previous studies that discussed peace builders during the COVID-19 pandemic do not have this theoretical background. Ambiguity is distinguished as focused ambiguity and pervasive ambiguity, according to Bulwer-Keach. People who are experiencing focused ambiguity are unable to determine an appropriate strategy of action to deal with known contingencies of a situation. For example, if an individual wishes to achieve a certain goal, they may experience focused ambiguity on achieving the desired end. Therefore, to overcome focused ambiguity, one must resolve instrumental questions of how to solve a problem. Focused ambiguity can be solved when one concludes the specific problem that led to the anxiety in the first place. To overcome pervasive ambiguity, one must solve fundamental questions of meaning, such as what is happening and why. Bulwer-Keach defines pervasive ambiguity as a cognitive and affective problem which occurs when individuals or collectives are unable to define a social situation. During pervasive ambiguity, individuals have no way of knowing how they could or should interact with others or the environment, which results in the capacity to engage in meaningful social action becoming impaired. The COVID-19 pandemic is a situation whereby the risks and certainty of decisions are unclear, as individuals lack experience with a pandemic on such a scale. The result is that people have differing boundaries for social interaction because of confusion about how we should or should not be interacting with others. Thus, in my paper, I argue that the COVID-19 pandemic is an example of pervasive ambiguity. The second theoretical foundation drawn on is grief. Grief psychotherapist Samuel, 2020, explores the concept of living losses, which he argues the COVID-19 pandemic is resulting in. Samuel explains living losses is loss that is more invisible, like divorce or losing your job, or not having the life that you wanted, where we have to shed an old version of ourselves to come into a new version of ourselves. We are not collectively having the same experience of the COVID-19 pandemic, however. As the powerful symbolism in Damien Barr's poem 2020 identifies, we are not all in the same boat. We are all in the same storm. Some of us are on super yachts. Some of us just have one oar. Nevertheless, I used grief and the concept of pervasive ambiguity to guide this study during the research design, such as asking participants in the survey how they deal with ambiguity during the COVID-19 pandemic. In my research design, I defined ambiguities to the participants as when there are different interpretations for the same thing, which leads to uncertainty. I applied this definition in my survey and interview questions, as well as in my research questions. I chose not to use Bulbro-Keach's definition of pervasive ambiguity because I didn't want to narrow the participants' answers down based on their understanding of the word pervasive. After all, this research is not attempting to establish whether the COVID-19 pandemic is a period of pervasive ambiguity or focused ambiguity. Instead, the concept of pervasive ambiguity offered the research direction and a unique lens to examine peacebuilders' experiences through. Research question 1 is: in what ways has peacebuilders' work changed during the COVID-19 pandemic? Question 1.1: what changes to their work have they noticed during the COVID-19 pandemic? Question 1.2: have they experienced any work-related opportunities or challenges? Question 1.3: what role has technology played in their work during the pandemic? Research question 2 is: how have peacebuilders dealt with ambiguity during the COVID-19 pandemic? 2.1: how would they describe the COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent lockdowns? 2.2: why are they experiencing ambiguity during the COVID-19 pandemic? And 2.3: what methods have they used to deal with ambiguity? I collected qualitative data from 27 self-identifying peacebuilders. This research was remote. I did not interact with participants face-to-face, but all communication and data collection took place online. As this map illustrates, the participants were based worldwide and could be in any role, providing they self-identified as a peacebuilder. I collected data from voluntary participants recruited through social media between June and August of 2020. My methods included a semi-structured survey of 16 questions, which was shared on a series of closed Facebook groups. I distributed the survey via a Google form. In addition to the survey, I interviewed 3 participants through a semi-structured reflective text-based interview. This interview also took place via Google Forms, whereby the participants and I were not in the same space at the same time. The 3 interviewees had completed the survey and then reached out to me directly by email as they wished to contribute further to the study. Complying with data protection legislation in Europe, I collected anonymous data, excluding identifying information about the participants. I also sought ethical approval in advance of conducting this research. All 27 of the research participants who completed the survey self-identified as peace builders and provided informed consent. The participants were located in 20 different states, with the highest number identifying as US nationals. Additionally, 14 of the 27 participants are not currently living in their country of nationality. This geographic spread provides a range of global experiences. Moreover, the 3 participants who completed the interview, they were American, Brazilian, and Nigerian. In my data analysis, I use qualitative data analysis software, Quirkos, to examine the themes and patterns across datasets. I used inductive coding to identify patterns, which I carefully checked through recoding before finalizing the analysis themes. I opted to use inductive coding methods to allow the themes for analysis to emerge directly from what the participants had to say. All but 2 of the 27 participants in the survey identified some changes to their work during the COVID pandemic. For example, some were affected by travel limitations and physical distancing measures, both within their local and international communities. One participant noted, "I have not been able to be involved with my immediate community, especially when we were under lockdown." Others discussed their relationships with colleagues and stakeholders changing because of the pandemic. One stated, "It is more difficult to build relationships, morale, and teams without in-person interaction." Another talked about how they were no longer able to access peace clubs in schools and had their ability to perform community project work restricted. An implication for this peace builder is that when the students return to school, they may no longer be willing or able to participate in the peace clubs. In turn, this could have a knock-on effect with programme funding and programme impact. Another participant identified that many trainings was cancelled or postponed. There are a lot of limitations to face-to-face training. The cancellation of training and postponement of training may result in peacebuilding organisations failing to provide peace builders with the knowledge and support they require for their work. The data revealed a myriad of overlapping causes of ambiguity, which often piled one on top of the other. The variety of causes suggests a peace builder's context and personal resilience are relevant factors in perceiving and experiencing ambiguity during the COVID-19 pandemic. One cause of ambiguity is changes in peace builders' work and within peace, security, and conflict arenas more generally. For example, one peace builder questioned, "Will our progress in peace building be reversed?" Another highlighted the difficulty that they had with the inability to plan ahead. Another cause of ambiguity identified were the delays that participants experienced in peace-related research. Particularly, they were unable to conduct in-person fieldwork, resulting in the majority of research being conducted remotely and providing some limitations. Other causes include financial worries about funding as well as salaries. For example, one peace builder noted that financial limitations lead to changes in the viability of projects and roles. Moreover, several participants in the study reported concerns about threats to job security. A general finding in this research is that participants have had to shift their peace-building activities online and have mixed perspectives concerning the use of technology and its effectiveness. Another finding is that peace builders' mental health and personal security has been impacted. This is in line with other studies exploring the COVID-19 pandemic. Peace builders also face ambiguity and experience loss because of the cancellation of planned peace-building projects and the inability to plan future projects. A final interesting and somewhat unexpected outcome in the research was an underlying discussion around the term peace builder. This timely research reveals that peace builders worldwide are experiencing various impacts on their personal and professional lives because of the COVID-19 pandemic. This research is significant because, unlike other studies examining peace during the COVID-19 pandemic, this study emphasises the experiences of peace builders both personally and professionally. Moreover, the study's theoretical foundations of pervasive ambiguity and the consideration of grief is unique when discussing peace builders' experiences during the COVID pandemic. Thank you.